see you all here. There's also some of you probably behind the screen. So welcome, and welcome all of you who are here live today. My name is Aira Huovinen, and I work here in Rovaniemi Art Museum as a chief curator. And I have had a pleasure to start this project with Katja a few years back already. On behalf of Rovaniemi Art Museum, I would like to welcome you all, of course, to this opening seminar of the exhibition ISEAS Conversation. Later on you will see the exhibition itself. But today, here we have a possibility to hear more about this fascinating project which started already in, 2 years back. Yeah. But first, we get to see a documentary film called With Bated Breath, which tells about this project. So enjoy the day.
Tuonne päin kun katsoo, niin tuolla on avohakkuualue. Ja niin sen reuna, tuolla yläreunalla, niin sinne on tulossa, siitä lähtien on avolouhosta. Ja se on leveämmillään 1,5 kilometriä, eli tänne päin. Tulee tänne asti näin, se avolouhoksen alue. Ja sitten taas toiseen suuntaan, niin pituutta tulee 2,5 kilometriä. Nämä etäisyydet vähän hämääntyy tämmöisessä, kun sä oot korkealla, niin sieltä aina hahmota. Mutta kuitenkin niin tuon avolouhoksen tuolta puolen ja sitten taas tuonne metsäraja tuonne eteenpäin, niin siihen tulee se Hannukaisen avolouhos.
About this mining project, my final word is, or the conclusion of everything which I've been through, read, know about it. It's a crazy project. We can't have that mine in this area. That's absolutely, I'm sure. And I'm very, I hope I'm right saying that there will be no mine, Hannukainen mine.
When we first came in, we had the idea that our impact would be to create or open up a dialogue between two sides of an art or a debate.
Koitetaan luoda sellainen ilmapiiri, että kaikki ihmiset sais sanoa sen, miltä tuntuu. Ja minusta tuntuu, että me olemme onnistunut siinä.
Aika monikin on huolissaan siitä, että pystyykö täällä ylipäätään enää asumaan, jos kaivoshanke toteutuu. Ja toiset on taas sitten huolissaan siitä, että onko täällä työtä, että pystyykö täällä asumaan, jos kaivoshanke ei toteudu.
On aika vaikea määritellä sitä, että minkälainen vaikutus tällä meidän tekemällä työllä on ollut täällä, mutta se tunne siitä, että me ollaan oltu vahvasti paikallisten ihmisten kanssa vuoropuhelussa, niin on antanut ainakin mulle toivoa siitä, että se dialogi jatkuu. Tämä on hyvin vapaa harjoitus, että tässä ei ole oikeaa eikä väärää. Teille annetaan täysin luova oikeus projisoida sinne niin kuin kaikkea sitä, mitä teille tulee mieleen.
Ja me suunniteltiin se meluvalli, ja jos katsotaan noita luontaisesti, miten siinä tuossa Hannukaisen kohdallakin nousee se maasto siihen, että kyllähän se ilman muuta se meluvalli, niin kyllähän se on maa-aineksesta tehdään ja näkyyhän se tietysti, mutta Mutta sillä autetaan se, että kyläläiset saa rauhassa asua, missä asuvat tällä hetkellä.
Eilenkin tuli puhe siitä just siitä niistä äänistä ja värähyksistä, että jos niinku räjäytetään jotain tai että miten ne tavallaan kulkee. Eli jos miettii, että toi vesistöhän toimii semmoisella, ja sitten kun siellä joku muuttuu, niin sehän muuttaa tosi pitkälle, se alkaa niinku kertautua.
Mun mielestä ei tarvitsisi edes perustella, että kun sillä ympäristöllä on jo niinku arvo sinänsä.
Niin.
Ja että ei kaikkea tarvitse niinku riistää.
Joo.
Ja sitten kun se tuhoaa niin paljon, niin kuin meidän ihanan Saivojärven.
thing that I find in this project the most amazing is the enormous size of this project. I thought, what could we compare it to? And I thought that we compare it to Helsinki Airport. And then I fit the Helsinki Airport well within the area of Hannukainen. The airport is 15 square kilometers and the Hannukainen mining site is 20 square kilometers. You could have the landing track in the open pit for the jumbo jet. So this is really what is thrilling. But one thing that I find now the most critical is this groundwater effects, at how much water will flow from Äkäsjoki and Kuerjoki into the open pit, and what will be the remaining water on the downflow of the river. The Hannukainen area as such is the most important spawning ground for the endangered Baltic salmon trout. And if this area is destroyed by clay water or something else, then we lose something very valuable.
Ajatus, kun me oltiin siellä Kiuaskerolla, niin minä jollekin sitä totesinkin, että mun kunta on ehdottanut, että sitä Kiuaskerosta, kun muistatte, kun me oltiin sieltä katseltiin tänne päin, niin me nähtiin noita sivukivialueita sieltä, niin mun kunta on ehdottanut, että jos sinne tekisi sellaisen luontopolun, jossa oikeasti esiteltäisiin tätä ympäristöä, kun sieltä pystyy näkemään joka suuntaan, näkee Kaunisaironia myöten, niin esiteltäisiin tätä seutua ja esiteltäisiin tätä meidänkin hanketta, pystyisi kattoon sieltä ja näkeen sen, että miten meillä lähtee rakentumaan se, niin sen pystyisi näkemään. Sieltä on 5 kilometriä matkaa tähän ja tästä on 10 kilometriä Ylläkselle. Ja Ylläs näkyy kyllä joka paikkaan, että se on meillä ihan varma. Mutta se, että se meidän avolouhus, se tulee niin kuin te näette, niin tämä on tämmöinen laakso täällä välissä, mihin se on tulossa.
The people are now taking portraits of each other, and this is an exercise that they will frame and portray the objects in the nature for the thoughts that they have for the future to become the hopes and the wishes.
Joo, siis Kotamajalla silloin vanhan kaivoksen aikaa. Niin siellähän oli, siis lumen pintahan oli, niin kuin mä tunnen niitä ihmisiä, kylän vanhoja ihmisiä, jotka sanoo, että se oli punainen se lumen pinta. Eli jos miettii välimatkana vaan, että minkälaista, ja me ollaan tosi lähellä kyläläistä, me ollaan oikeasti huolestuneita siitä ihan niin kuin ilmastovaikutuksesta ja terveysvaikutuksista, että mitä sieltä niin kuin tulee. Sillä uutta tietoa, just niin kuin tuossa äsken puhuttiin teosta tehdessä, että ikään kuin vaikutukset siihen luontoon ja eri eläimiin, että toihan on ihan tärkeä asia, mitä kaikkea aiotaan tehdä sehän meitä huolestuttaa, että vaikka paljon tässä kaivoskeskustelussa on puhuttu just vaikutuksista matkailuun, mutta kyllähän suuri osa kyläläisistä kantaa huolta siitä, mitä vaikutuksia sillä on niin ympäristöön. No, en voi puhua kuin omasta puolesta, mutta tietysti sillä lailla kylän hengessä, että kyllähän meillä kova huoli on ja sieltä varmaan porukka lähtee poiskin sitten, että kokee sen asian jotenkin, että ei pysty elämään.
ISEAS is done this year, 2020, in fourth time. First time we did it 2017 in Raasepori in south of Finland, and also 18 and 19 was there in Raasepori in south of Finland. And it was very easy for me because it was my home village and my own area. But this year we decided to move it to north of Finland, to here in Näkäs-Lompolo. And it's also a first time for me to do it together with somebody. So I did together with Maria Huhmarniemi. And for me to change these things here, of course this Corona has been affect a lot. It brings us a lot of stress and things has been not so easy. But for me it's really important to try something else and something new. And this has always been kind of the task for the ISEAS. ISEAS is a topic of my doctoral studies, what I'm doing in the University of Lapland and Faculty of Art and Design, and that was one reason I wanted to bring it here in Lapland. In my research, the main thing is that it's not something what I'm doing alone. It's very important that we are doing together, and it's like a shared knowledge, and it's ISEAS is based with the conversational pieces, and all this is kind of creating more about what does it mean, this shared knowledge and doing together. And I'm so happy we are here, and I'm waiting so much to see how is our result to come.
In this symposium we have art and science collaboration, and we want to study how we can use art-based methods for enhancing dialogue and creating new interaction among our guests and the locals. And we arrived today, and this day has already been very much impacting on me. We are in the village of Näkäs-Lompolo, and this is close to Hannukainen village, where there is a mining project planned. And I have been involved with opposing the mining, but I realized that to have an impact in this society in large-scale environmental use of nature, we need to have new ways of dialogue. People have to understand why other people want mining, why other people want to protect the nature.
Me ollaan lähdetty suunnittelemaan tämän ryhmän kanssa tätä jo tammikuusta lähtien. Ja nyt me ollaan tietenkin tässä H-hetkellä ja me ollaan ajateltu, okei, onnistutaankohan me tässä hommassa. Meidän teema on aika vaikea, ei todellakaan mikään helppo, eli metsäkonflikti. Et se on aika iso teema. Mutta meistä on aika hienoa ollut, kun meillä on Ville täällä puhumassa asioista. Ja me ollaan itse asiassa meidän taiteilijat ollaan kanssa tosi paljon opittu tässä prosessin aikana. Nyt me toivotaan, että me pystytään jotenkin myös meidän oppimista niin jakamaan teille, mutta teillä on varmaan myös omia juttuja. Me toivotaan myös, että te pystytte jakamaan meille.
I think there's too much mind in the world, and perhaps my role was to lessen the impact of mind in the conflict. And in order to do that, I invited participants to take a little stroll in the forest and relax and just have a sensorial connection with the forest, just through paying attention to the sounds and perhaps the fragrances and the smells of the forest, and a bit disconnecting with the thinking mind just for some instances, and somehow engaging with the forest from that other place, beyond mind, beyond thinking mind. As wonderful, as useful it is, the thinking mind, for many things. When there is too much of it, it's good to know how to switch off and come from a different place. And I think that was my contribution.
Käsiteltäisiin sitä asiaa, että mitä tarkoittaa metsäkonflikti teille?
teille. Ja sitä tehdään niin niissä pienissä ryhmissä. Ja käsitellään sitä sillä tavalla, että meillä on täällä maaleja, meillä on täällä pensseleitä, meillä on täällä narua.
No siis te saatte käyttää ihan mitä keinoja hyvänsä. Vaikka performanssi, niin kaikki käy.
Meillä ehkä tämä värimaailma kuvaa vähän sitä ristiriitaa eniten, että sitten ei oikein ihminen ei vielä tiedä, että miten se on sen luonnon kanssa yhtä. Se ei oikein välttämättä tiedä, miten sen kanssa toimia ja mikä on oikea ja väärin. Sitten toi kivi on tuolla semmoinen raskas asia, mikä on myös sitä osasta ristiriitaa.
Luonto on puhdas, niin tätä luppoa kasvaa ja totta kai selluloosa ja metsien kaataminen voi olla ehkä yksi. Niin.
Ja tämä niinku kuvaa sitä metsän hyvinvointia ja tämmöistä hyvää käyttöä ja sitten täältä niinku hiipii ne konfliktit. Ja sitten niin siellä takana on sitten niinku se iso möykky.
Pimeä puoli ja ehkä väärinkäyttökin ja
niin.
semmoinen.
Miten kun toi on ylösalaisin se puu, niin mikä se sun tai se ajatus siihen?
No varmaan, että se on siitä maasta irti revitty.
Elikkä meidän ryhmä päätti toteuttaa tämän meidän näkemyksen konflikteista sille, kun meidän kaikilla oikeastaan se konflikti on sitä luonnon monimuotoisuuden häviämistä, niin tässä nyt on kuvattuna sitten tässä meidän teoksessa luonnon monimuotoisuus, mikä on siellä toisessa vaakakupissa, minkä kyllä arvon varmaan kaikki ja suurin osa ymmärtää. Mutta sitten siellä on painavampana kyllä, tosin siellä on aika vähän rahaa tällä hetkellä, mutta siis
ehkä se kuvaa sitten
symbolisesti toi rahan valta kuitenkin meidän yhteiskunnassa määrää aika paljon tekijöitä. Ja
et voi kaataa sitä puuta.
Kyllä voi.
Minun maita! Minä olen täällä kerännyt ja täällä on myös kanervan kukkia. Menehän muualle keräämään nyt niitä kasveja siitä.
Ei. Minä jään tähän. En minä lähde mihinkään. Minä olen täällä.
Ja marjojakin on nyt hiippi pois täältä metsän pihasta.
Metsää täytyy käyttää.
Minä kyllä haluan nämä vielä ensi vuonnakin. Ja minä
Että siis sanotaan näin, että jos me haluttaisiin maksimoida se puuntuotto, oltaisiin kiinnostuttu nyt siitä ekosysteemipalvelusta, niin juuri ehkä tuo sinun ajatus olisi ehkä sillä lailla, että annettaisiin nimenomaan kasvutilaa ja otettaisiin sitä alle jäävää kuolevaa pois ja jätettäisiin näitä isoja ja jätettäisiin sitten parhaita tämmöisiä nuorempia siementämään. Eli tehtäisiin tästä semmoinen niin kuin valmisteltaisiin tätä maata vähän harvemmaksi puustoa, että se siementäisi tätä uudestaan ja uusi metsä lähtisi siitä. Eli tässä on nyt sitten metsän kierto, se sykli, kun ajattelee, että se on nyt tässä vaiheessa. Eli tässä tavallaan synnytetään ja on synnytetty tietoisesti ihmisen toimesta uutta metsää.
Verrattuna hyvin yksipuolinen.
Yksipuolinen.
Tai siis sanotaanko, että kun täällä lähinnä tämä mänty kasvaa ja tämä kenttäkerros täällä on aika ohut ja syöty.
Mutta tämä metsä nyt tarjoaa sitten, kun ymmärretään tämä kehityskulku, kuusen ja koivun vuorottelu, mihin kuusi tulee, voidaan varmasti lähteä myöskin sitten ihan vaihtoehtoisena miettimään sitten näitä poimintahakkuutyyppisiä tai pienaukkohakkuutyyppisiä.
Metsähallitus is a state-owned enterprise which manages the state-owned lands and waters in Finland, and we have here in Lapland 6 million hectares, and half of them are protection areas, and the other half is managed by forestry, but only half of that is in forestry use. The other half is peatlands and all that kind of things.
Mulla on tässä kartta, missä näkyy nyt, meillä on tämmöisiä sinisinä pisteinä. On tämä, missä oli puhe, että käydään tutustumassa tähän poimintahakkuuseen. Tai sitten tehdään semmoista kasvushakkuuta, mikä on tämän tyylistä kasvushakkuuta, mutta tehdään niitä pieniä 0,3 hehtaaria aukkoja. Tavallaan niin jäljitellään sitä, mitä luontokin tekee. Myrsky kaataa, siinä tulee pieniä aukkoja, no taimettuu itsestään, niin sillä tavalla sitä jollain tavalla pyritään jäljittämään tai matkimaan sitä, mitä luonto tekee.
Mutta miten sitten, kun monet lajithan kuitenkin tarvitsee sitä vanhaa puustoa. Oravat on harvinaistunut Suomen metsissä, vaikka kaupungeissa niitä piisaa. Ja myös niin kuin, porot on menettänyt ne vanhat luppometsät, ja kun on hoidettu metsää tällä tavalla, että niitä on jäänyt liian vähän semmoista niin kuin vanhaa puustoa. Että kyllä minä pidän tätä, en pidä kuitenkaan kauhean kaikin puolin hyvänä tätä niin kuin metsänhoitomallia, mikä on.
Siis on kartoitettu nämä luonnontilaiset vanhat metsät ja arvokkaat metsät, ja ne on kaikki suojeltu Lapissa. Semmoisia, joissa olisi niin kuin aiemmin koskemattomia arvokkaita, joissa on paljon lahopuuta, niin ne on joko suojelualueina tai sitten meidän noissa, siellä kartassa on se alueekologinen verkosto, jossa me on itse kartoitettu niitä. Ja sitä kautta on saatu niin kuin hyvinkin kattava semmoinen tavallaan, että vanhaa metsää säilyy varmasti Lapissa.
Maalata siihen ihan vapaasti. Esittävää tai abstraktia. Ja sitten tavoitteena on, että saadaan se paperi täyteen.
Kyllä tosi hauska. Tunnen itse.
They are roots, and all the roots are connected to each other. So,
like in the real forest.
Yes, like in the real forest. So this tree can communicate with another tree also with the root connections, and it's also the biological fact.
Kulttuuri ja taide on ihan ehdottomasti osa niin kuin kaikkia ihmisiä. Me ei voida, jotkut ihmiset ehkä niin kuin laittaa koko elämänsä siihen, että ne ei sitten tee mitään muuta kuin vaan taidetta. Mutta mä en pysty näkemään, että ihminen voisi olla ilman taidetta ja kulttuuria. On se sitten niin kuin, joko sä oot sen käyttäjä tai sä oot sen tekijä, on se sitten musiikkia, runoutta, kirjallisuutta, elokuvaa.
Hei, tässähän on symboliikkaa. Mietin nyt, kun piti metsäkokemuksesta, niin ihmisen kädenjälki näkyy.
Oh. Näytäks onkin käden?
I've always thought of myself as being people who likes to be with people, but being with people and doing something together, creating something together, is, in my opinion, the highest level of being together. When you create something new as a piece of art or a common understanding or something which is new and which we had made. And every day I learn something new, and every day I realize that although I'm quite good, there's a lot of room for improvement. And this kind of work actually gives you a totally new perspective.
I have been here only a couple of hours today, but I would like to thank Misha for these exercises we had, because I think I did realize something, because usually when I'm in forest or anywhere, I am always observing and thinking what is there and what is happening there and what are the reasons for these processes and where will this end up and so on. But those exercises were really nice, because some kind of idea just appeared to my mind that you can also be in the forest and in the environment, and you can actually feel something. You don't have to just observe. You can also feel the forest. So thank you for this.
Mentoring means that somebody else is coming into the group and listening and asking questions from outside. And those are the moments when the group doesn't need to take care of, the group members don't need to take care of each other, because there is this one outsider who is leading and supporting the discussion. With some groups, they are just questions like what has been going on, and the whole mentoring session is a discussion about the things that has been happening, and the aim is that everybody in the group understands each other. But then sometimes they are questions concerning the communication with community. And sometimes if the group has really good cooperation, then we can start to discuss conceptual things and theoretical topics too. There has been times that the group doesn't understand each other at all. And then there either needs to be long discussions. And here in Äkäslompolo we also made this one exercise where we just went out into the woods and started experimenting the things before the group found like the common language. This time our community was a lot bigger than in the symposiums before, because now we had all these nature elements like trees that we talked to, and stones, and also spirits and energies coming from the ground.
Se tapa, miten me ollaan sitten saatu aina sitten kasaan, ei välttämättä kovin helposti kuitenkaan, mutta ollaan kuitenkin aina saatu kasaan sitten suunniteltu ne työpajat. Jokainen niistä toimi.
Minun ajatus on ollut, että jos metsän saisi puhumaan ihmisille niin kuin nimenomaan sillä tavalla, kun metsätieteilijä haluaa sieltä asioita nähtävän.
So in the Powers of Nature team, we are encountering with nature to support our own well-being, and we are building a relation with trees and stones and nature in general.
I'm happy because I had the possibility to be in the workshop, to interact also with the participants, to talk with them. It is an amazing experience. But I'm glad to be, and I hope the situation that we are living now will be normal as soon as possible, in order, not because I don't feel well and I don't appreciate, but it's nice to breathe the same air together. I had this great opportunity to have Francis as a colleague of my team that shared a lot of knowledge about trees and healing processes.
The energy field of a tree, how far it comes, it's difficult to see sometimes. You can sense the energy field is through the palms of your hands, because on the tips of each of the fingers and in the centre of the hand we have these energy circuits. If you hold your hands out like this and you just push a little bit like this, you can kind of get a sense of a feel. Try and keep your fingers together if you can. And then what you do, you just walk slowly and feel. Just walk slowly and feel your way. And already here you can feel there's a shift in energy. So then you just very gently let the tree acknowledge who you are.
Eli kun tunnetaan se puun läsnäolo, niin sitten voi pysähtyä sitä vähän kauemmassakin tuntemaan. Voi lähestyä siihen paikkaan, missä tuntee. Ja sitten voi omassa mielessä puhutella sitä puuta ja esittäytyä, että kuka on.
Okay, and just feel, become aware of your body.
Feeling the energy of the rocks, the trees, the air, and travel in the rocks. Feel with your palm, watch with your palms, your fingers, all the details, all the life.
What I really like about the experimental workshops is that people don't know what's going to happen and people don't know what they're doing, and they're often doing something with themselves that they're kind of surprised that, whoa, am I doing this? Am I dancing on top of a hill with this group of people I don't know? Or it's one of the most genuine moments, mind that they are open, and that doesn't really happen in normal life. And I've really been happy during the symposium that we've had so many moments of pure experiment.
Well, it's a very special workshop because the idea is reconnect with the nature and the landscape, and have two special things. One of these is the amazing landscape with the energy, and the other is the special connection with the people here in Akaslompolo, because they have a special connection with the energies. They are available for experimental and feeling and play.
I have felt empowered in this workshop, and I have learned a lot in being in nature in a calm and in a sensitive way. And we are working for an exhibition, and there we want to share this experience for a wider audience.
One thing that is very different from my usual work is that there's no story. There's I don't know what the story is. I didn't know what the whole symposium is, and there's so many things going on. At the same time, we're doing art, and then we're researching art, and then we're doing kind of conversation with science, and then there's actual scientists involved. So I really don't know what's going on. So that has been, I wouldn't say that it's only a challenge. I would say that it's also an opportunity. When I think about what am I supposed to show, what am I supposed to tell, what am I supposed to look at, I'm always thinking okay, what was this story again? And then I always say to myself, oh yeah, there's no story, just go with it.
Hi, my name is Linus Westerlund, and as you all probably know, at least the ones that I've been working with, I come from southern Finland, Karis. I am very sorry, mostly because I can't, or I'm actually very sad because I can't be up there with you during the opening of the exhibition that we have been working so hard for. But life is life, life happens, and here we are, and I'm down here at work, and that's how it is. I'm making this video because I didn't want to miss my chance to speak at this event, even though I can't be here, and video calls and video messages in all its glory is pretty normal thing nowadays, I believe, especially during the pandemic that we have been going through, which also have made its own part during this big project. So what I mostly want to talk about is my experience and how I feel now versus how I felt then, and like it has been a roller coaster, it has been a journey, it's definitely been very, very interesting. To work with this kind of a project is the first time I have been working over a year with one project, like this one thing, one production. And I say production because that's what I have been doing. I have been doing a production, a film documentary production. My colleagues in this project, everyone else say that they have been doing art or they have been doing science and they have been talking to each other, but I have been doing a production, which is kind of art, which is kind of film, which is kind of whatever you want to call it, but it's a production in my head. And it's been just an amazing journey from the beginning. And talking about the beginning, I sort of knew what I was going in for, as I had been doing this documentary last year or the year before, which was 2019. Of course, we did it down in Raasepori, and well, that was the first time we did it in a week. We edited in 3 days. It was amazing, and this was a different setting. We had planning, we had time to think before we went, and then we had a week to film, which was one of the most crazy yet amazing yet tiresome weeks of my life. But it was amazing to work with all these people, to hear everything that they had to say, and to be able to capture it all, or at least most of it. So yeah, the whole filming part, everything around that has been just an amazing journey. And then after that whole week, there was a lot of time thinking about how do we want to make this, and then we met up in January up in Lapland, once again in Akaslompolo, and of course in the middle of the winter. And I mean, it was a different experience, but once again no less amazing. And in 1 week, more or less, we made a documentary. Me and Amir working day out, day and night, day out, day in, to make this documentary happen. And of course all the other people, Maria, Raisa, Mary, Tanya, everyone, of course Katja, helping me and us with the documentary and making the right decisions, or helping to make the right decisions at least when it comes to the content of the documentary. But yeah, now we're here, and I am happy. I'm so happy that this documentary is ready to show. I have been eager to show the world. It has gone by some people, some close people, to a little bit of quality check and a little bit of sanity check maybe. From those people, it's both good quality and it's sane. So yeah, I'm excited to be showing this, and if I understand correctly, you have seen this already, because the whole event opened with the documentary, which I'm very, very thankful and glad for. It has been a journey all the way to the last second with this documentary, as me and Amir were working on this still last week, which, I mean, it is what it is. Life in production, it happens. Sometimes you work with stuff all the way up to the deadline and it's still even not finished. And this is the thing with the documentary. it could still live, but the state that it is in now is the state that the world is going to see it in. And that's what I'm very happy about, that something that we have made and worked on during a whole year, it's now finally gonna be seen by hundreds, maybe thousands, hopefully more people. With no further rambling on about what I feel and this whole project, I'm gonna end this with the few words I started with. It has been an amazing experience. The journey of this ISEAS is coming to an end, and I'm very grateful and very thankful to be a part of this amazing group of people, and I would love to work with you, and hopefully will work with you again. Thank you.
Welcome all to this seminar, which will be held in English as our participants are international. Being in this moment now, I realize how far we have already come together. Organizing such a big event is not easy, and it has required me as a researcher, artist, and organizer to sweat, blood, and tears. But there has also been a lot of joy, laugh, dancing, and deep conversations. We have all learned a lot. Throughout the August Symposium, we were followed by a rainbow. I felt as if we had been protected by it. My participation in International Art Symposia began 8 years ago. The experience was really great and meaningful for me. Living for a week with artists from different fields, working together, chatting, laughing, and dancing, I felt part of something bigger and more holistic. I got my share of love and acceptance, and learned a lot from another artist, and hopefully they learned something from me as well. I gave a lot, and I received much more than I couldn't even imagine. I organized my first symposium in 2014, and my first international socially engaged art symposium, so-called ISEAS, in 2017. ISEAS has taken over much of my life over these 5 years. This museum exhibition showcases the artistic results of the 4th and 5th ISEAS Symposia that I have organized. In 2019, I started doing art-based action research about it in the University of Lapland, which I hope to defend within 2 years. At this time, I would like to thank all of you who have participated in this event, either as an artist, researcher, or participants in the workshops. Without you, this would never be possible. Special thanks are also to the supervisors of my research, Mirja Hiltunen and Timo Jokela, who have walked by my side during my research. And also my big thanks belongs to Maria Huhmarniemi, who has participated 3 ISEAS Symposia and written many scientific articles together with me about ISEAS. She also helped me to organize this event in Lapland. I would also like to thank the staff of Rovaniemi Art Museum, Riitta Kuusikko, Aira Huovinen, and Tanja Koivisto, and all these great men who has been helping me to build up this amazing exhibition. Thank you for your trust and help. It has been a pleasure to work with the art professionals. This project would also not be possible without Kone Foundation, who provided important support for the entire project. An art exhibition is not built without artists, and the work of an artist is, in my opinion, one of the most important professions in our society. Artists are at the front line of society. They have possibility to open up new debates and enable the emergence of a new way of thinking. History has already proved this many times, and I believe that the future will show the same thing over and over again. So a big thank those artists who have given your time and expertise in the exhibition. You have opened up very deep experience, and it will be spread to a wider audience throughout this exhibition. The symposium was a collaboration between art and science and would not have been possible without the involvement of the researchers. Our exhibition includes cooperation on the many different levels, and the researchers play a very important role in the whole project. Thanks to all researchers for your contribution and the creation of this exhibition. Thanks also to the documentary group, Linus Westerlund, Amir Abdi, and Touko Hujanen. As you saw in the video, socially engaged art takes place in a process. Some of this can now be seen in a showroom through Touko Hujanen's photographs and through a documentary by Amir Abdi and Linus Westerlund. The document will be freely available for viewing in the near future through our ISEAS webpage. The following speeches, after our coffee break, which present all the 3-hour workshop we conducted last August in Akaslompolo, involving 75 people through socially engaged art, also featured the photographs of Touko Hujanen. Again, a deep thank you to all who were involved. Collaboration across the various sectors is challenging and requires great effort from everyone. Each one of you went above and beyond to make this happen, and I couldn't be more thankful. Thank you.
everybody, and welcome to our presentation about forest conflict. My name is Ville Hallikainen, and I'm working in the Natural Research Center Finland in Rovaniemi. And I will say some words about forest conflicts and our group, what we've done in ISEAS-Lompolo, how it works. So, yes, here. Things behind forest conflicts that people have, as we all know, different values, different attitudes and goals and relationships to nature, and we can say that none of them are right or wrong. And people also have different kind of knowledge about nature and forests, and also different kind of experience and about forests and the impacts of different forestry methods, cuttings, and land uses for forest production, landscape, biodiversity, and also the impacts on climate, forests on the climate, impacts of forests on the climate change. And as we all know, forests, they grow here in Lapland very slowly, and people have different understanding about the spatial and temporal scales, how forests are developing, its forest dynamics, and forest succession. For example, it's hard to think how will forests, what kind of forest will be after 50 years, and also it's a different thing if we just see one single forest stand, or when we are talking about the forests in whole Finland or global forests. And I also consider that there's a lack of real discussion in the things such as forestry. And I would also like to mention these historical reasons, because it has been so that timber production has dominated for a long time, for many decades. It produces conflicts, of course. But however, we need understanding and we need compromises when we are deciding about forest use, and it's called multiple use forestry. Yeah. We had a symposium in ISEAS-Lompolo, as we saw in the document, and we selected there 3 different forest environments where we visited. One was old forest in its natural condition in the national park, situated in the national park. We had a dries, pine-growing cedar tree area where we visited with the groups, and then moist spruce deciduous mixed forest, all different forests, and it means that there were different kind of forest development in these stands. And we visited there with 3 visitor groups, 2 groups of wilderness guide students from Muonio, and a group consisting members of different stakeholders from Metsähallitus, Luke, and we also had the forest conservation activist with our discussion in the forests. And with first group of wilderness guide students, they were first asked to express forest conflict using some of the given materials and also the materials they could find in the nature. And after that, we visited in these 3 different forest stands and discussed forest succession, different goals of forest management and possible management methods. What should we do in the forests or
do nothing there. And we also got a deep mental experience in the forest by meditation, as we saw in the video. According to Misha Dval, and it was nice experiences as we heard in the video. With the second group of Wilderness Guide students, we just started with visiting the different forests, and then we had art work after that. And the last visitor group, those stakeholders, we also visited the forests, and we saw also the forests owned by Metsähallitus, and we saw, for example, a selective cuttings which represent a continuous cover forestry methods, called also in Finnish as jatkuva kasvatus, talked very much during these days. And after the forest visits, we collaboratively created the artworks, and after that we had an important concluding discussion after the forests and artworks. And now Katja will tell us about the feelings and things like that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ville. We started our project maybe a year ago, no, like January.
January, yes.
Yeah, but 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
By planning it, and we include 4 of us, 3 artists and 1 researcher, and nobody knew each other before. And we had this kind of Zoom meetings, and we were planning, and we didn't even know exactly who will be our partners. We will do this socially engaged art, and how many there will be, and what are we going to do. And I think that basically Ville teaches us, for us artists, quite a lot what does it mean, this forest, and what the science can do with the forest. And I think we artists teach Ville some kind of creative thinking, and I think our collaboration in the end was something very sparkling and inspiring, and it's kind of like made me feel that, okay, this is some kind of extraordinary power what we did. But it wasn't an easy task from the beginning. We basically couldn't plan anything in our Zoom meetings. We started to get to know what we are going to do when we met in last August in Akaslompulla, and we finally met face to face, and I think we needed to smell each other's, that we could start to do it. And also, we decided that we are kind of little bit doing like each of us own parts. And Misha started our day by putting our participants to smelling things. So the idea was that we want to create kind of like a trustful day for the people. We made a little bit ourselves also ridiculous, that come on, this is not so serious, that we don't know either what are we going to do. And Misha was really nicely guiding us and putting us to, and we were really, Ville and me, we were also, and Satu involved, we were there putting our nose into the poronkakka and smelling it. And it was mind-blowing experience actually, and I'm also really grateful for Misha to do that for us. And after that, like you saw it in the video, we decided to make 4 groups, and each of the groups had one of our forest team members. Like for example, Misha was having 4 students, and Ville was doing this performance, and it was so cool. And we were also, our team was doing some kind of installation. But I think the best part was that it was such amazing. We gave them 20 minutes time to create artworks for the people who never really into it art and who hasn't never doing art together. And the end result was quite pretty amazing with such a short time. And we were having this discussion about it together, that how do you feel about it? That we kind of wanted to open up, what does it mean to have this forest dispute and where it comes from and how can we talk about it? And I think the art has this potential that when you are out of the words, you can use the art as a tool to understand something what is maybe a little bit difficult to verbalize. And then we continue with the Satu's leading and expertisement of this really large painting. And it was really great to see that how people get really involved. They really started to paint with the hands and with joy and laugh, and they fill up this, it was like 4 meters and 1.5 meters, and they fill up these big canvases with the colors. And they were all the time, while they were painting, they were talking about it, what it means, this forest, and what is around us, and how are we including into this forest dispute, and what is our impact or our effect. And as Ville told, that we were visiting many forests during the day, tree forest, and Ville was telling us the scientific facts, or what are the scientific facts at the moment. You know, science is never stable, it's constantly floating and moving. And also Ville asked these participants to take photographs. So Ville was also involving with the art. And it was interesting because when you look at the things through the lens, you could actually kind of maybe a little bit more develop the knowledge what you get from the putting yourself to kind of develop this understanding. And like Ville told, that we had these conversations in every day together. And I think for me, as my research is conversational art, or I want to develop this ISEAS, and I want to use these conversations, and this is kind of like my red line, what I'm following in. And it's also these days what we were doing together. It felt really meaningful for me and for us, that these conversations, that without those conversations we would probably be lacking something. And like in the video you saw it, that this one of these Metsähallitus lady said that this is something more, something bigger, that when you are involved with other people and doing art, that it's something what goes above some normal level. And I really felt that that was a really big thank you for our job. And then in the exhibition, me and Satu and all our group, Ville and Missa also including, we got an idea that we will use one of this big painting. Me and Satu came to visit my home, and we had such a nice weekend together, and we started to create this Lapin tähti, Northern Star game, what is kind of possible to play as a famous Finnish board game, Afrikan tähti. And we were so happy about it because it felt like, okay, this is the point of the socially engaged art. You are creating together something with your people, and then it can be still go one step further with an idea that you include these conversations and ideas. And Mista was voting for our game, knowledge from his point of view. Ville gave also forest scientific knowledge, and then we also asked from the other groups, from the Powers of Nature group and also from the mining group, that we wanted to include the whole ISEAS to this board game. So this is something what you can see it and play it today. So as a conclusion, Ville, would you like to join this? How can art and science solve the forest disputes? I don't know if it can, but I think there might be some little chances. But Ville, I would like you to take this part.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I see things like this at versatile scientific research. I think that it might make the opinions and attitudes less abrupt. I have faced this thing myself. Experts in certain scientific branches may emphasize their own sectors, but larger conclusions and also well-done popularization based on the different results in science are highly needed. But conflicts are highly, however, based on the person's experiences and deep feelings. And despite of the facts, however, the feelings remain, and of course also some conflicts. But group discussions between different stakeholders and groups in the forest environments, they are valuable, I see this. So, for example, participatory forest planning has been used in forestry for a long time, but in addition today, socially engaged art in the context of conversational art, I see it as a valuable tool in sharing of knowledge but also feelings and experiences and learn from each others. Thank you.
Thank you. And if anybody has anything to ask, so we will have some 10 minutes time for the questions, and after that we will have a mining team's presentation here. Yes? Totally agree. I always remember when Ville said this thing that like we have these needs from the forest, and I think you say that it's never possible to get them all.
Yes.
So it's kind of underlying this dispute cannot be solved. Our globe is not big enough.
The different land uses even compete with each other and have to be so-called
Any other comments or questions? Yeah, if not, so I would like to give a little bit more time for our mining team and invite you here. So please, mining team, Tanya, Raisa, Mary and Leif should be in online, and maybe you could introduce yourself, and here is Tanya in front seat and showing you a little bit how much time you have left. Welcome. Thank
you. Noni, is it okay, the sound? We wanted to be here together because we have been doing all of this together. And with us in the mining conflict team has also participated in the August Symposium Joette Crozier from USA. She's a scientist and a biologist. And she's not here unfortunately today, but we will send our greetings to her. So my name is Tanja Koistinen, and here is Raisa Raekkalli and Meri Koutaniemi, and we are artist group in this mining conflict team. And as a team, we try to create dialogue in mining conflict in Kolari area, through artistic workshops in August 2020. And then again in January, again in ISEAS-Lompolo, we started to build the artwork around these art workshops that we had in ISEAS-Lompolo. And about the conflict, it's around Hannukainen mining plan, which has been going on for many, many years. And it's a big conflict around livelihoods in Kolari area. It's been exhausting for the local people in both sides of the conflicts. And we as a team, we wanted to create workshops where we make art together and create this kind of neutral ground where we can talk about the subject, because the subject is so heated in the area that people don't want to discuss about it anymore. And it's really hard to take sides because families, they might have different opinions. And then there is different livelihoods such as traveling. And then also there's these elderly people who have seen the gold time of the old mining. So there is many different kinds of age groups and groups of people that involve in this conflict. And building these art workshops, we first had participants which were elderly women from Martat, but during this COVID pandemic time, it wasn't possible to have them participating with us. So we actually needed to collect our participants again just before our workshops. And actually, the most of the elderly people are pro-mining in Kolari area, so that would have been really interesting to work with them. But now, for this workshop, we got many people that were against mining plan, because people from ISEAS-Lompolo, they are used to participate or used to involve art and opposing the mining together because of the Art ISEAS-Lompolo event. But we also got a representative from the mining company, Hannukainen Mining, and which we want to thank her as well to be brave and come with us to participate in these workshops. And now we were thinking that if Leif Ramschmidt, who is a specialist in wastewater mining and engineer in that field, is online. Is he online already? Not yet, all right. So we're talking a little bit more. Well, Leif Ramschmidt has given us some lectures, and he will tell more about the facts around these conflicts. But maybe we could go through the art workshops that we did in ISEAS-Lompolo before Leif is with us. Who wants to do that? Right. Let's do it together.
Yes. Yes, actually I've also thought about then maybe later after Leif telling about the people's reactions that we saw there on the spot. But maybe we also describe day by day what we really did.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning we started with the planning that we thought that which place we are gonna go in the workshop. We thought that the place is really important, what kind of feelings and what kind of meanings the place would have. So we started with a hike in Kiuaskero, which is this fell near Hannukainen, and we hiked there together. We were about 20 people in that workshop, and we did artistic practices. You can see the documentary photos in the exhibition of all the workshops that we did. So in the Kiuaskero walk, we did some talking during walking, and then also artistic practices. And then on the top of the hill, we could see the plant mining area. And there we had a photography workshop with film cameras and with Mary's guidance. And some of these photographs are also included in our artistic interpretation in that exhibition. So that was our first workshop and first place, the walk. Then on the second day, we went to Hannukainen old mining site, where the mining representative Jana Koivumaa was in her own field and could present the mining plan and be more in her own comfort area. And there we also did ink paintings and other artistic pieces. And during the ink paintings, we went through all the environment hazards and talked about the environment hazards that include in Hannukainen mining that need to be solved within the environment permission that they also make. So that workshop in the mining plan was very emotional, and we had a really long discussion with both of the sides of these conflicts. And then the third workshop, we went more to the traveling industry side, and we went to the nature center Kellokas, or in the yard of the nature center Kellokas, and that was more like an intimate talking session that the locals could tell their fears and hopes of the future. And we mostly talked and talked and talked and talked. And then later we have had locals sending us notes and letters considering of these mining plans. And all of these workshops we have interpreted into our art piece that is shown in the exhibition. So 3 days and 3 nights.
Yeah.
And now Leif Ramsmith is already there, we can see him. So Leif will tell you more about the facts considering this conflict, and then we continue with our experiences.
Yes, shall I start already or? Joo, nyt mun täytyy löytää se. Mut hetkinen, mihin mun... I don't find the... Was it? Oh. Here it is. Do you see it now or?
Not yet.
Okay. I must take it again then. Can you now see? Impact of open pit mining? Okay, so I'm ready to start then. Yes, I'm Leif Ramsmith and I'm a chemical engineer, and I focus on wastewater treatment and also mining issues and so on. And to first say that I'm not against mining. It is just important that mines, if they are opened, that they fulfill all the environmental permits, and also the social impact in the area must be in the right way. And there are certainly places where you cannot have mines. And I will tell you why it is so in this case here. So my first slide here, the environmental impacts of mining. There are many things that it may impact. Certainly we lose a lot of land if it is an open pit mine, because vast land areas will be lost. The ecosystem and biodiversity will be reduced, and we have effects on groundwater, surface water, dust formation, noise and vibration, high carbon footprint, and such issues that are very difficult to handle, especially if you have a community close by, as in this case. And there are also social impacts of mining. We have effects on nature tourism, and here it is in particular important to know what is the distance to the mine, how close does it come, how does it appear in the landscape, and so on. And then we certainly have, in Lapland, we have this reindeer herding that is very much heard about mines. We have reindeer who want to escape the mines because of the blasting and other effects, dust and so on. We have negative effect on ecologic product business. If you have berries and mushrooms and so on, you cannot pick them because they may be polluted close to the mine and so on. You have fly risk of fly rock, you have health effects. People are afraid that they would get, for instance, cancer because of asbestos and something else as too. And then certainly we also know that many mines have had problems with bankruptcy and so on. So I understand that miners at least are afraid of losing their jobs, or that the mining time is so short that they need to find a new job when it's all over. And this might affect the mental well-being of people. But we have to remember, certainly mines are important. We need to get minerals for electrifying the society, all these battery minerals. And certainly a mine will create new jobs in the area and also new business opportunities, and it might give also some positive return to the country, particularly if it is a domestic company that runs it and doesn't bring the money outside of the company. But in Kolari, there was made a survey of Gaia Consulting in 2017, and their conclusion was that what the mine brings, nature, tourism, and reindeer herding loses. So it was a plus minus zero issue. And mine is only for a short period, while tourism is continuous. So the positive effects need to be balanced against the negative effects, and they may even be bigger. And then in that case, a mine should not be opened. I have here an example of a somewhat similar mine, the Aitik copper mine in Gällivare, Sweden. It has an open pit of same size as this Hannukainen, and an area that is 1.5 times bigger, but here you see how it positions in the landscape. You see at the right, Liikavaara, Sakajärvi, two villages need to be relocated when the mine now is expanding eastward. And they have, for instance, 1.4 kilometers of safety area from the open pit mine. As a rule, you cannot live within that area. And here we see pictures of the mine. It is 2.9 kilometers long, so you could have a jumbo jet landing if there would be a landing track, for instance. And this open pit is same size. It is deeper than the Hannukainen will be, but that doesn't matter visually. Here is also a link to a video that shows how mining operates, and you could look at that. I don't show it now here because of limited time. This is Europe's largest open pit copper mine, and the Hannukainen is same size. That is my view. Here we see the planned area according to the plan. The mining plan is 90 square kilometers almost, and the mine area, this claim area it is also called, is this lingonberry colored areas here at the left. And there is an old mine which was 1 square kilometer, and this is 30 kilometers, so it doesn't have much to do with the old mine. And then I made a comparison. You can place 2 Helsinki-Vantaa airports, international airports, within this area. So it's not a small thing at all. It is really enormous, I would say. If you place the area up on Ylläs area and this Ylläs-Pallas National Park, it will reach from Ylläsjärvi up to Äkäsjärvi, so it is a huge thing. Then certainly it has effects on the land exploitation. As I said, large areas will be destroyed. We have forests, marshes, rivers, ditches, springs, and so on that are gone under the mine. We have visual effects. The main part of what is blasted and excavated is waste products. In the Hannukainen case, it is 96%, if iron is 4%, so 96% is waste products, and they will be then stored close to the mine, and that will make a 6 kilometer long new element in the landscape. It is up to 320 meters high. The mine will have an effect on the groundwater level, which will drop gradually when the mine is getting deeper and deeper. And here we see these rings, annual rings, so to say, how far out the drop in groundwater level will be. But the most important thing is that down there at the southeast or southern part, we are very, very close to Äkäsjoki, and the isthmus, the area between the open pit and the river, is according to some investigations, gravel and very well water perforating. So a major part of the river water will pour into the open pit. And that will reduce the water in the river so much that the salmon trout will be highly endangered. Also, springs, there are 500 springs located and identified in the river, they will be extinguished. And then the mining company, in order to protect the residential area, they are going to build a barrier, 3.5 kilometer long barrier, which is done of clay and soil and such matter. When there is heavy rainfall, at least in the beginning, clay water will pour into the river, even though they have some basins, but they are underdimensioned. Wastewater will be produced in all mining activities, certainly, and the Hannukainen is challenging in the sense that the ore is a sulfide mineral, it is high in sulfur, and that will make acidic drainage in contact with water and air. It will create the sulfuric acid with heavy metals and such things in. This is called acid rock drainage. And that acid rock drainage may continue for thousands of years unless you can cover it up so well that you exclude all oxygen entering the piles. And that is impossible. There is no such cover yet that really would work. Then this area is hydrologically net positive. It rains more than it evaporates, so the surplus needs to be discharged. Then in the process, now they use a lot of chemicals. Many of them are toxic, especially these xanthates, which are highly toxic to aquatic life. Now they also have new wastewater treatments that are adding new chemicals to the water purification in vast amounts. Then they have, which is certainly positive, they are looking into the wastewater purification, but the processes proposed now are, according to several experts, not very reliable because they will clog and so on. And in many respects, we can say that Hannukainen would be a test bench for new technology in very, very large scale. The Munio River and its ecosystem is certainly a danger. In addition to this, we also have a co-effect of Kaunis iron. That's another iron mine, very big one in Pajala, Sweden, also letting that wastewater into the same river. Here we see the joint use of xanthates. It is a very big amount. It is many times bigger than any other mine in Sweden and Finland. And all these remaining xanthates, which break down slowly in Arctic conditions, will pollute the river. And we don't know, there is nobody who can really tell what happens in the river. We know that spawning of the salmon is very sensitive to xanthates, and the salmon will stop spawning if the levels are at some microgram per liter levels. The wastewater production is coming certainly from rainwater and so on that goes into the open pit. We see also the water collection scheme here on the right. The wastewater they expect to have here is on average some 11 million cubic meters per year and a maximum of 15 millions per year. The Kaunis iron mine will have about same, and 30 million cubic meters a year would mean same amount as Espoo city in southern Helsinki, having almost 300,000 inhabitants. So it's a huge amount of wastewater into a sensitive river. Dust formation is certainly a big problem, and the mining company says that they will use water to avoid it from dusting, but winter times you cannot use water, so it will dust anyway. If you use chemicals, they will go into the will go into the water and add to the water pollution. Dust emission, we see here one graph over how dust is spread there, and you see the blue points are residential areas. They will have dust there. The dust level, according to the calculation, doesn't exceed the legal level, so to say, but we have to remember this is no normal dust. It is a dust containing heavy metals, asbestos, and such things. And then the company hasn't checked how these very fine particles below 2.5 microns are distributed. Here we see a graph from another mine how these fine dust particles distribute. They go over 15 kilometers. and they are the most dangerous ones because they penetrate into your lungs. So in case a mine opens there, Ylläs may need or needs to remove their advertising, which says that world's cleanest air in Ylläs. Here we see some examples of the blasting. So this noise from blasting and fly stones, fly rock is certainly a danger. You cannot totally avoid it, and even if you are very careful in your blasting, there may still be human errors, which mean that you need to have the safety area, and that you don't have in the Hannukainen case. Hannukainen will use 100 tons of explosives per blast on average and 10,000 tons per year. If you remember the Beirut blast, there we had over 2,000 tons in one go, so it's 4 times the Beirut blast in 1 year only, so it's a very huge thing, this. Here we see how fly rock also flies. There are some theories, and this expert who has written this article says that 1,200 meters should be at least included in the safety area. And we have 300 meters only to the closest residential areas in Hannukainen. Here is a picture of a fly rock of 3 tons that was thrown more than 300 meters. Noise is another problem, as I mentioned there, and we see how the noise is modeled here by the company. And you see the yellow line there is the barrier which should stop the noise, but according to the plans there were in the southwestern part, there is no barrier, but still the noise stops there. So I must say I don't trust their calculations. There must be an error in the model. And the sound levels are exceeded, but they say as a conclusion that they meet the sound levels. I don't believe that either. So you cannot live in the area. Here we see the blasting sound, noise, and for some reason there is no noise in Äkäslompolo and Ylläsjärvi, and I don't understand where this noise stops. There are some mountains, but the noise from the blasting is so tremendous that I am absolutely sure you will hear it at Äkäslompolo very well. The level is a limit maybe 13 kilometers where you have quite a heavy noise from that. Escape behavior of reindeer is an important thing, and there are some new studies in Sweden that tell that reindeer will escape much further than was believed earlier. Also, we know from Kevitsa in Finland that reindeer may escape 15-18 kilometers. So the reindeer herders will lose a tremendous amount of area, at least 200 square kilometers may be lost. And the reindeer may go to Sweden where it is then impossible to collect them. The reindeer lichen might also be polluted by the dust, and the reindeer doesn't want to eat that. The mine also has a high carbon footprint unless measures are taken to reduce that. In Sweden they are making a lot of efforts, but it's very expensive to electrify everything and then get electricity that is green, so to say. If you don't do anything, this Hannukainen mine might have a carbon load that is 400,000 tons per year, which is 6.6% of the industrial processes in Finland. That would mean 100 tons per inhabitant in Kolari. And when we take in account that this iron, which is the main product, there is not necessarily needed. The world is full with iron. You can get it much cheaper and at a much lower environmental impact in other places. Why excavate it here? And as I said, 4% is iron and 96% is waste. Accidents are also quite common in mines, and here we see just some articles. These are in Finnish and Swedish. So you do have this very frequently. There are dusts and there are water pouring wrong way and exceeding the permits and such things, and the dams are breaking and such things. So then coming to my conclusions, that this mine project has caused enormous conflict in Kolari community between mine supporters and sufferers at the mine. And the sufferers, which are these tourist enterprises, for instance, and people in Hannukainen together have spent over 300,000 euros so far to protect their rights. And important investments in Ylläs are on halt. So Ylläs is falling behind other tourist areas in Lapland. And I would say in this case there seems to be no way to mediate. Only way out is to stop the project. So thank you, and you may certainly put questions to me if you so want. Thank you.
I wanted to also talk a little bit what came through in the workshops, because we met a lot of people who were very worried, and in these encounters somehow the stress and the tiredness of people that have been living with this situation for years really was really strong. There were these statements like, if the mind comes, I will move. And also the people in the area that were participating, they seem to have a very strong connection with the nature, and the environmental effects are really worrying these people. Fear of having the river spoiled, the sea trout completely vanishing, and also the fact of kind of taking these riches from the ground and then leaving nothing for the future generations that will be not born again anymore, which was really touching. And of course, not to mention the effects on tourism that is on stake, what happens. And what also came through was the uncertainty of who the people can trust, like where to get this information that is correct. If people felt that the mining company is changing, also somehow that they are not getting the last information, that is always changing a bit. And I think there was this great mistrust with these people who we were encountering on the workshops. Also, because there's not so much knowledge about the xanthats, how Leif was telling, we don't know how what's the impact in long term. So you cannot predict those things, what will happen. And then on the other hand, of course, the representative of the mine was very positive on the effect of the mine, that it will bring a lot of vitality to the area, and also that they take the responsibility, and that the solution of the mine are proven to be safe, like they feel. And so this conflict has two really opposite views, and the emotional charge was really touching and heavy as well. Maybe Mary will talk about the art, how the art comes in this equation. Yeah.
Yes, the main question is that can art actually create dialogue in this kind of places where themes and topics are so flammable and heated that actually people don't want to change their opinions. I think in the first place we were thinking the ways how to even create a space where you are free to speak and free to express your opinion, because the topic is so flammable that people are even afraid to say aloud what they think or what would they like to think or know. Even making a question can be something considered as weakness. And I think that's maybe the main solution that we got, that Raisa also mentioned, that people were not sure what to think. And maybe it was the starting point where it was even difficult to start doing art because it required an opinion. But we came up with the solution that the art is not made from the opinions. The art is made by people, persons, who have inner feelings, which can be turned into opinions, but they don't have to be expressed as an opinion. They can be whatever they are inside of a person. And all the rehearsal, or what is it in English? Harjoitteet.
The exercises.
Exercises. All the exercises, they had the freedom not to talk, because it's so difficult to actually put people who are kind of against each other in the same space, kind of fighting with each other. And in Finland, I think culturally we are very afraid that we don't want to get into these conflict moments where we have to be strongly with our own opinion. We rather keep those opinions with ourselves, and then we talk with some other people with our opinions who are maybe the same-minded people. And this was maybe the main thing that I think we succeeded, that all the exercises that we made in these 3 different days had the freedom and had the space that was safe to feel what you felt. And when we talk about dialogue, we usually use words. And of course, we didn't force anyone to use words. But actually, the dialogue didn't happen only in the art, through emotions and through visual and creative expression, but it happened in the surrounding area where we didn't make the art. So the actual art and the dialogue happened all the way when we were walking to the hill, when we were speaking around the fire, when the people met for the first time and they introduced each other and started to talk about daily things. And then maybe somebody had the courage to ask from Jana, from the representative of the mine, some question that was bothering his or her mind. And it was beautiful to see that all the expectations that this art exercise would need to be the key was not the key. It was actually that this ISEAS art-based dialogue actually created a conversation between the art exercises. And I think the people felt much more free when they didn't have to express their opinions by words, but they had the freedom to talk when they wanted to, and talk in a way that it wasn't transformed into anything. They had the freedom to even be clueless, because that's maybe the main point on the whole issues or the whole conflict that Misha was also mentioning, the gray area, that you are not either against or only supporting the mine, but as you can see in the exhibition, maybe you have an opinion that stays somewhere around, stays in the middle, because you don't know enough, you don't know where to trust. And I think that art is the key to understand and make the questions while the exercises or actually around the exercises. Thank you.
anyone has any questions for Leif or us, or we have 5 minutes. No question there.
Yeah, no questions, but just to say thank you to Leif for a very sobering presentation, and thank you also to the group. Very, very great. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
There is one question there. Yeah. Thank you.
Did you follow how is the community now doing with this conflict?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Have you been following now this, how is the conflict developed within the community, and you probably did follow how this project did affect?
Yes. Well, actually, I live in Äkäslompolo, so it's on the site all the time, and some community members have been involving this exhibition throughout the whole process until here, since we gave some people some film cameras that were leftovers, and they made a diary about it. And of course, now when the municipality election was on, it was really on the frame, and the mining plan has developed so that the old municipality, mikä se on, kunnanhallitus, has given the permission to the area. I'm not sure about these can you land use plan? Yes. So it's developing towards the mining to happen at the moment.
Yes, and I can maybe tell. I can maybe continue that when the community did this decision to approve the plan, it was to a great disappointment among those people who are against the mine or whose businesses are suffering of it. But certainly there will be a case in court with it, because there were so many errors in the decision. They didn't know really what is happening, and you cannot live, for instance, in Hannukainen in no way, and still they are putting a plan which is in conflict with the law. But anyway, we could see that this was a great disappointment for really many people there.
Thank you. And come to talk more in the exhibition, and there will be some workshop photos and art. Thank you.
Miranda Moldovan, and from England, Francis Joy. Please welcome.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Smaranda Moldovan. I'm a visual artist, actually a painter. I come from Romania. And I will start the presentation for the Power of Nature team. And I hope if we can have as a background for the presentation a preview of the artwork of our dear colleague Hugo Pena, which unfortunately could not be here. Okay. No, it was the choreography from Hugo. Okay, I think it is not possible, so I will start my presentation. Okay. The whole world is still struggling to adapt to the new reality, something which comes with a lot of changes. One major challenge is to integrate art practices that alleviate the negative impacts of the use of natural resources. The COVID-19 crisis has hit the cultural and creative sector particularly hard. One of the impacts of this ISEAS 2020-2021 was also to build a capacity to equip artists with the necessary tools and competencies needed to come up with creative and innovative solutions to face unprecedented risk. This project aims to enhance empathic skills development and competencies that reinforce creativity as well as to boost quality, innovation, and recognition of socially engaged art. This symposium is the second I participated, as ISEAS, in a long series of socially engaged art projects curated by Katja Juhola and under the name of ISEAS. The experience I gave from earlier symposiums where I collaborated with Katja Juhola was also crucial for the development of the current ISEAS. Together we experimented different types of dialogue, verbal and non-verbal, co-author painting and drawings. The present presentations examines how authors may work together in developing a socially engaged art project regarding the environmental factors of the Lapland area and focusing their interest on the power of nature. Its purpose is also to help people and places to better address the new challenges brought about by pandemic, climate change, globalization, demographic change, and technological breakthroughs. This project is about to inspire new young generations of artists from all over the world. The project of Power of Nature has realized under the artistic umbrella 3 mutually interacting objectives: develop and establish a nature connection with participants from the local community, develop new artistic goods, and boosted the collective understanding of the importance of human intervention in nature. The conversational component evolved from group conversation with curator Katja Juhola and mentor Mari Krapala during the beginning of the symposia in Akashlompolo in August 2020. Here I must mention that due to the COVID restriction, I could not attend physically, but I participated in an experimental online mode, recreating some of the activities that were held in the Power of Nature team. One of our methods of investigation that derive from this external factor is the experimental process of having online dialogues with participants of the workshop and also online meetings with the members of the group. The second part of the symposium, held in February 2021 in Mudrshlompolo, Akashlompolo, proposed a more accurate development of communication between the group members on the artistic project. The second symposium heavily contributed to the group's ability to understand local ecology in order to create the artworks that are now part of the current exhibition. Okay, so as a result, the exhibition's artworks include both individual art projects as well as group projects. Group results are visible in the experimental approach of the workshop held in summer of 2020 in Akashlompolo. This consists of a series of events with external participants from the local community. The local innovative participatory and intercultural dialogue approaches are visible on the screen, on documentation made by Touko Johannen, in a variety of awareness-raising activities on which my colleague Francis Roy will develop further. Okay. And to continue with the artistic approach, In the exhibition group, the group's artistic perspective can be seen in artworks such as Snow Series and Tree Societies too. The first mentioned is a painting composed of small canvas with white oil pigment. They were created in Muodoslompolo in February 2021, and they have been buried under the snow until April 2021. The gray pigment that you are going to see is ash that Maria Humarniemi has spread in order to make the snow melt easier. The canvas with the imprints of the snowflakes invites us through a tactile method to address the problems of an ecological disaster such as global warming. The sense of touch gives us ancestral deep sensations because the tactile sense is a primordial sense that was developed long before our sight. The series was made by members of the group, Maria Humarniemi, Hugo Pena, and also me. The Tree Society, too, is a collaboration of artists Maria Humarniemi, Hugo Pena, Misha Delval, and Tanya, I hope I pronounce it well, Kostinen. Okay. The aim of the drawing is to suggest that social relationship that both humans and trees have with each other. But trees, unlike people, they do not want to conquer a space and invade it. Instead, trees go in a direction that is opposite to human aggression. Nature occupies space in a healing way. The individual results, or artworks, are a decontextualization of the August 2020 meetings, proposed in a form that bears the personal imprint of each artist. These results are meant to involve the social part of the community and to develop this approach over time. So, Encounter a Tree by Maria Humarniemi, lecturer at the University of Lapland, Faculty of Art and Design, invites us to get closer to trees and natures. She offers us advice gathered through her personal empirical experience, but also from the other participants. Revelatio, it's a performance, a video performance by Hugo Pena, offers us a show of communication with nature through dance. The audio installation by researcher and healer Francis Joy transports us to an ancestral world where art, spirituality were a whole. Tree Society and Tree Texture that I made reproduce both tactile and visual sensation, wanting to humanize nature in attempt to sensitize the world to protect it. As a half conclusion, before my colleague will continue the presentation, is that in the hope that all these experiments and researches, strategies can produce a small change in our attitude towards nature, we commit ourselves to continue our mission, both as artists and as researchers, in raising a pedestal of our habitat. Thank you.
Okay, my presentation should be here somewhere. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Francis Joy. I'm originally from Yorkshire in the United Kingdom, and currently working as a PhD postdoc researcher at the Arctic Centre in Rovaniemi. I'd like to begin my presentation by expressing gratitude to Katja and to the other members of the ISEAS project for the opportunity to be involved and to be of service, and also for the museum for the opportunity to come and make a presentation here today. The work that I was undertaking was coming from a spiritual point of view, so this afternoon much has been spoken about combining science and art together as research approaches, research methods. And from my approach, one of the things that I wanted to bring into it, which is quite often missing in issues concerning the land and mining, was the spirituality. Quite often, as you can see the title of the presentation, Communicating with Nature, combining science, spirituality and art in order to enhance well-being and knowledge produced as different narratives through personal experience. And I mention spirituality because when it comes to nature, that's the origins of where it comes from. It's also, as I understand it, the origins of art. And spirituality is often thought of, you're a little bit, they call it hoo-ha in Finland, if you've kind of these certain spiritual beliefs. So I thought it'd be very interesting to combine something together with my colleagues, Maria Hufmerniemi, Smaranda, who's just presented, thank you Smaranda, and also Hugo. So just to begin and say a little bit about the foundation of the work, we formed an approach to the work by combining spiritual practice, spiritual knowledge, bodily practice and dance, and finally work with clay as different applications, approaches and methods for creating dialogue with trees, forests and landscapes. The idea for working with clay was that we made gifts offering to nature as a way of giving something in return for the work. And also on the documentary you saw there how clay was used as a medium to connect with the landscape. So this approach was based on the premise that nature is both visible and invisible, and how these two worlds exist side by side. Jointly we helped participants prepare the mind-body by shifting into deep meditative states that brought them to the precise point of contact with forests and landscapes. This was done by exercises that release stress and tension from their minds and bodies beforehand, using stretching and breathing exercises which supported them in opening up and relaxing. From there, the participants were urged to connect, listen, visualize the environment, the landscape, the temperature, the breeze, the sounds and the silence, to expand sensitivity and subtly interact with the energy of the place that was interpreted and processed individually within the time and space of the location where they were present. This brought about communication and transformation in different forms. And as you can see there, we've got the first images of myself, Hugo, and Maria with one of the very old pine trees there in the forest in Akaslompolo, and Smaranda joining us from Romania there, sitting in the trunk, remains of a trunk of an old white willow. I wanted to also expand on this a little bit and give you some insight and understanding of the approaches and methods that we use to show how we actually combine the research together, how we brought it together. The approach to the research was centred on the premise that all forests have individual identities, as do different species of trees and landscapes, and therefore how human beings, trees and landscapes communicate, how they communicate is through their identities. Comprehending how important identity can depend on the quality of communication that takes place, for example, in terms of health and well-being, and indeed the impact this has on who we and others are. Both human beings and forests and landscapes have emotional identities which play a central function that make communication possible through the roles they play in life as different species. We can learn about the value systems of others through the quality of relationships that take place. This we do by spending time with them, coming to know their identities, personality, moods, feelings, and experiences they offer. So, encountering thoughts, feelings, and sensations, as well as visual experiences from trees, forests, and landscapes, in whatever forms, shapes, or forms, creates narratives. The type of narrative communicated depends on how we meet them in relation to embodiment, experience, interpretation, and description. Therefore, using a narrative approach to the research worked well because of its ability to bring together various disciplines as well as bridge a gap between science, art, and spirituality. From the research, the stories materials collected are deeply embedded in personal experiential narratives, and therefore using the narrative approach was a primary way of organising and giving coherence to experience and the ways these were communicated. Combining spirituality meant the starting point was an openness of heart and mind to suspend judgment and remain neutral despite personal beliefs. And I'd also like to emphasise one of the judgments that we asked to be suspended was the idea that only hippies hug trees. This was a workable method for aligning with the qualities and powers of trees, forests and landscapes, thus helping to create a starting point in terms of building a bridge between nature, human persons and changing values. The artistic part, in combination with the narrative and spiritual approaches, was concerned with understanding how interspecies communication is an art itself, which is based on interaction, socially, spiritually, and emotionally, which can help build creativity using different approaches, techniques, and practices that can in turn produce and help with integration of inner and outer experiences of various kinds, and therefore contribute towards the construction of new types of data. And to give you some idea of some of the approaches and methods that we used, on the first slide you can see there a group around a dead pine tree. And one of the interesting approaches that we used was the understanding that also trees that are dead have stories to tell, that they're open to communication if they're approached in a respectful way. As you can see on the ground, this one, there was a large aura or large energy field around it that had been there for many years, so there was still a strong imprint in the landscape of the tree's presence. In the bottom middle photograph, you see there 3 participants saying hello upon entering the forest as a sign of a mark of respect, introducing themselves to the forest as a way of opening up dialogue. And in the third picture there on the right, you've got another one of the participants there who's chosen to place a forehead on the tree trunk as a way of trying to look inside and see whether or not there's any visual experiences or any information. Again, 3 more quite interesting slides. We see there the lady, the participant, with her arms outstretched, feeling, as was shown in the documentary, trying to sense where the energy field of the tree begins, and then feeling a way slowly through the different layers towards the tree trunk as a way of striking up communication, striking up cooperation. And then in the middle photograph, we've got further 2 participants there. One is stood with his spine again, and the back of his head against the tree. The spine and the head being where the central nervous system is, which is a place where communication and sensitivity can be quite high. And then we have the other participant there stood with the front of his body down, laid against the dead pine tree. We also have a picture there on the right of Hugo doing some exercises as a way of opening people up and shifting kind of their own personal rhythm, their own individuality, and sort of trying to open that up and connect it with the rhythm of the forest, with the landscape. We saw also in the documentary work with the drum there. This was an opportunity to show that, you know, in addition to being able to communicate with trees, that the landscape, boulder fields in this example, are also places where we can find consciousness. And one of the ways that we did that was to use the drum as a medium, as a way of opening up the body, opening up the mind and the senses. And we have two different pictures here, one in Akaslompolo down in the forest and the other one on the top of Kukas Tunturi. And so I haven't presented a summary and conclusion, but what I wanted to do was just to say that I collected 17 participant stories, narratives from the research, and that was written into an extensive piece of research which Katja will publish in the autumn this year as part of a book. It's about 40 pages of photographs and text where you can actually read these individual experiences. And also my colleagues, Maria Hufmanemi, together with Misha Delval, Hugo Penner, Amir, Tanya, Raisa Ray and Smaranda produced these wonderful cards, or maybe murals is a better term for them, that are based, designed on kind of tree barks from birches and spruces and pines and other trees. And some of the wisdom that emerged from the experiences that people had with trees and with the landscape was then put into text, and we've made quite a large selection of these different thoughts and feelings, different statements about why trees are wise, why they've got knowledge, why they can help us in our daily lives. And these you can find in our exhibition. And just to finish, I'll say that also, as Miranda mentioned, I put together a drumming meditation or guided visualization which enables people to lie down and listen to a journey. Go and visit the forest in your own way and see whether or not opening up facilitates or initiates any kind of communication with you. So that's it from me. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, but would you like to comment that, or do you, especially the mining team, do you see function for conversation here in this kind of situation?
Normal parties or political parties are no longer in the municipality decision making in Kolari, but there is these kind of sitoutumattomat, two groups of sitoutumattomat that are both enhancing dialogue in this. Of course, we didn't create these parties or anything like that, but in this conflict I see that dialogue is wanted at least, or the conversation is wanted more than before. And yeah, I think it's about the exhaustion as well, that people are so tired that everyone knows that arguing is not the right way anymore, that because no one wants to live in this situation anymore where everything is unsure. So I think conversation is the only option, and at least in municipality decision-making level, it has been seen that way.
I think also one of the key is the facts that haven't been around that much that people would have wanted. And we saw from Leif's presentation that, okay, if we have the right facts, then we can actually deepen the conversation. And I think that's the future, that we, both of the opponents, they need to have the facts right. They are mutual. They are not the facts from the mining company and the facts from the people. They are just facts that should be faced as facts and then start a conversation from that.
That was a very persuasive presentation by Leif, by all lights. However, let's not forget there are people, individuals, that still hold the opposite opinion. And they might have, if not identical, also for them powerful arguments. So then conversation is necessary, dialogue is necessary to, I mean, what Leif was doing was creating conversation, was exposing his ideas and his research and the facts in a public forum so that we all understand a bit more about the Hannukainen mining, and that's conversation. So it might be that he has a good point. He has a very good point. So this point needs to be put forward and so that it's publicly understood, and that's conversation.
I must say, on a personal level, about this Hannukainen mining subject, that I have my personal opinions, of course, which we didn't bring up in our workshops. But I have my background in opposing the mine. But just 2 weeks ago, I got a WhatsApp message from Jaana Koivumaa, who is the head of the project, a picture of her new puppy from WhatsApp. So I think that's a conversation as well.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, thank you all so much. I have to say 2 things. Firstly, as a person who's been studying and working in conflict transformation for the past 6 or 7 years, I just wanted to say that from my perspective, what you all have accomplished, and Katja, what you've put together is truly so important, and it's so extremely difficult to get people together under science, art, spirituality, the environment, and conflict to discuss all of those things in one place is never easy. And I want to recognize all of you for doing what the world needs so, so much. And I am just a huge fan of this, and thank you all so much for the work that you've done. It's very, very inspiring. And my second point is a question about how this project has reverberated into your personal lives. And I understand, as I said, I feel this is a very powerful project. And I'm curious about the ways or maybe the conversations that you've had with your friends or your family members outside of your experience. If you have any stories about that that kind of made you realize, wow, this is really going very far into the real world and everything. If anyone has anything.
Yes, thank you. As also somebody from outside of Finland, I think, was it Tanya mentioned about the future generations in the presentation, and one of the things that I've been involved in with dialogue was what about the earlier generations and what they preserved, especially here in Lapland, because there was a terrible war here, and we know that the sacrifices that were given to protect and preserve the land, to save it for the people, for the future generations. And I think that also is something that's kind of a little bit missing from the dialogue, or maybe they've chosen not to speak about it, I don't know. But I think that's also really important, because then those ancestors are also given a voice.
Thank you truly for your words. It felt very warm. Of course, we are here to talk about this project, so we are not here to talk about our own feelings, but I have to say that this has been an incredible experience. And I really want to thank Katja that you created this and you brought all of us together and you created this family. It has been amazing how warm and welcoming all of each individual has been, and we have been focusing at the same level, or we have been in the same space in the space. Yeah. And we know the past year has been so sad in so many ways, and nobody had that chance to really socialize. And then we had this like hugging and together sleeping and doing yoga and doing these art exercises and conversations and dancing and nature walks and drumming from Francis and saunas and snow swimming. It was wonderful in this year that it actually sparked as like the main thing that I have done in the past year, or the most wonderful thing that I have been participating, to be part of these 2 weeks. Yes! No, but it has been wonderful, and I have been talking with many friends and my family about this experience, and I think we need more of this. Yes. Sorry for a long monologue.
I think we start to be in the moment that we all want to go and see the exhibition, and we kind of probably have enough with our speaking here. So let's continue our conversations in exhibition hall. Would you, Taina or Aira, like to explain a little bit where do we go, because I have.
Thank you. Next we can go and see the exhibition. It's in the back part of the museum, so you just need to follow this crew, I think. But I wanted to say that also you can buy some refreshment and wine from the info desk, because unfortunately the restaurant is already closed, so I'm sorry about that. But we can go and see out the exhibition, talk some more, and maybe take some wine afterwards. But before I let you go, we have something small to thank you, everyone.
Thank you our audience here, and thank you our audience in online. I know you are also many there. I'm very pleased.